Welcome. And welcome to the great Kenny D.
Welcome, welcome. We got plenty of seats up here out of the sun. You can take them. Anybody on the outside?
So Kenny, as people are getting situated, we have such a crazy economy right now. And I've been covering the wealthy for 20 years, first at the Wall Street Journal, now at CNBC. And I've never seen so much uncertainty and cross currents, even as it relates to people that seem to always get wealthier and always have money. And we've got inflation, we've got fears of recession, we've got fears of what the Federal Reserve is going to do. Are they going to stop early? Are they going to go too far? Your business has had this incredible run since the pandemic, where during the pandemic, like everything, we saw private jet travel just plummet. And then all of a sudden, it started coming back. And we have seen a growth in the private jet industry like we have never seen before, where I think we had not only a record year in 2021, but this year I think we're up to 2 million private jet or business jet flights, which is up over 23% from last year, which was already a record year. So why did people suddenly flock to private jet travel? And what are you seeing now with that business?
Well, first off, it's great to be here with you. What a day, and thank you for everybody for being here in the conference. What a great assembly of people. It's good to be outside and doing this. I would say, Robert, first and foremost, the wealth that's been accumulated over the last decade plus, it's real. I would say that there aren't enough airplanes or pieces of artwork or apartments or houses to satisfy really what's out there. So it's a really unique place and time. And yes, interest rates are swinging back. Yes, the market is being challenged right here because of that interest rate and because of global uncertainty. But as I told you as we were walking over, nobody's going back to LaGuardia yet. You know, so people are still...
Although it is better.
Yeah.
It is better.
Yeah, and by the
Not
way,
that much better,
that's
though.
with due respect to LaGuardia and Delta Airlines, our partner. But folks that have been traveling privately and have come into our space over the last 10 years, demand, as we reported in WheelsUp earnings, second quarter, year on year was up 49%. That's still a robust, sort of...
That's like tech growth.
Yeah, that's tech growth. But I would also say there's still one leg of the stool that's not represented, which is business travel. You know, when the back to the office stuff firms up, I think you're going to have another leg up in all of private aviation. And I think the numbers that we follow that are public is the travel managers that are booking commercial travel. You know, we get to see that stuff. And I think that private jets has that last piece to go.
So just to underscore that, so right now we're seeing a lot of people in this economy at various income levels start to pull back, either in expectation of a recession or simply because everything costs too much. You're not seeing people pull back, either giving up their memberships or not coming in as new customers right now.
Yeah, again, publicly traded company now. What we discussed in our last earnings call was the fact that the big indicator for me, been doing this for 20 years, is the retention rate. Are people staying in the club or new people coming in? The numbers have been firm. I would describe it that way.
So for people who don't know exactly what it's like to fly a private jet, to book a private jet, to own a private jet, the economics of that, explain a little bit about the different models, because most people, I think, they look on Instagram, they see somebody flying a private jet, it's like, oh, they own that plane, or maybe they rented it, but it's like a little unclear as to kind of what the different business models. So explain in simplest terms what the basic business models are and why yours is a little different.
Well, I would say we'd have to go back to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, not too far, December 17th, 1903. The first private jet wasn't a jet, but Orville and Wilbur Wright. It really not a long time ago. You think about it, less than 120 years ago, first flight. It took 86 years or 83 years from there when the guy who was my mentor in this business, Richard Santulli, left Goldman Sachs and he started what was known as fractional jet ownership. So since the Wright brothers took off through 1986, there was only one way or two ways to fly privately. You either owned your airplane or you're chartered from someone that owned. Fractional jet ownership really blew open the space from a TAM perspective, an addressable market perspective. And there are platform companies today, including my old company, Berkshire Hathaway owns it, NetJet. There's a company called Directional Aviation that has a brand called FlexJet. And there's VistaJet Global that also, it's European-based, but also sells fractional ownership in airplanes. If NetJets is trying to be the Four Seasons of the space, and Directional is trying to be the Ritz, and Thomas Fleur and Vista are trying to be the St. Regis, WheelsUp is membership, no ownership. We're trying to be Airbnb. So there's a lot of ways to fly privately today. We're trying to unlock a TAM of millions versus hundreds of thousands.
And so just bring it to home. What does it cost to be a member of WheelsUp? And let's say I wanted to join today. I wanted to fly from New York to Palm Beach.
Well, let's first take care of the membership. Robert,
Okay.
do you have your wallet on you? All right.
Yeah.
So the membership, we wanted to make it so that the number didn't have a big headline. So for private jet numbers, $17,500 to join the club and have access to our 207 airplanes that are owned and operated and our 1,250 safety vetted and verified partners, $17,500 to join and $8,500 to stay in. So it's a reasonable number. Now, you asked me if you wanted to go down to Palm Beach, what does it cost once you're in the club to get down there? If you flew on our King Air, which is our entry-level airplane, you're looking at $5,000 or so per hour. So you're talking about $15,000. If you're flexible on timing, you could be in that $10,000 to $12,000 range.
That's not per seat.
That's for the whole airplane.
That's for the whole airplane. And so how many people get on that airplane?
So if you can get 6 or 7 comfortably, even 8, because you have eight certified good seats, you're talking about $2,000 a seat. You know, $1,500 to $2,000.
I think a lot more accessible than people think it is. And one of the things that you mentioned are all these companies that have slightly different business models. There's been a lot of consolidation in this industry. You guys have led that. You're now a publicly traded company. Part of why you did that was to lead that consolidation. You've just purchased a number of companies since you've gone public. Are you going to buy more? And where does it all head? Is it going to be 1 or 2 giant players, 3?
Yeah, I think we're in the early innings of private aviation. And, you know, I take a lot of inspiration from what Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp figured out in 2007-8 as they were trying to figure out what Uber was going to become. And an amazing stat, first off, in their deck that you can go search online, their initial deck, they said they wanted to become the NetJets of car services. But what they really figured out was how much latent supply, 2 keywords, how much latent supply there was in the market. And what do I mean by that? The average American car, they figured out, was parked 23 hours and 30 minutes a day. So when I looked at what we could do in the democratization of private aviation, if you drive by Teterboro or any private airport in the world, the airplanes are sitting. The numbers are staggering. They're sitting 23 hours and 45 minutes a day. The average corporate jet, Robert, is flying 200-300 hours a year, on average. So you have all of this time. There's 8,760 hours in a year. The average airplane, which could cost you 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 million, is parked 23 hours and 45 minutes a day.
And so that's the holy grail, is to somehow better utilize the massive amount of capacity that you have flying in the air, and that's why you have incredible technology to do that, and you brought the price down. You mentioned supply. It is kind of unbelievable right now. We have a shortage of cars. We have a shortage of all kinds of things coming. There is right now a shortage of private jets that is now, if you wanted to go to Bombardier, Gulfstream, any of these companies and order a private plane, they're going to say, what, 2 years at least?
Could be 2-3 years on the new side. If you think about the world, how big it is, that's why I love where we're positioned. You have 8.1 billion people in the world. There's less than 1,000 new private planes produced by the 5 major OEMs a year. Less than 1,000.
And on top of that, you've got a shortage of parts. You've got a pilot shortage. You've got all kinds of supply constraint issues in this. How, as a company, has that affected you? And how do you work through that? And when are you going to work through it to where it becomes, quote, normal, whatever that looks like?
companies, and I'm an entrepreneur and investor, companies that I've invested in that haven't worked out for me were companies that could never nail the product market fit. It's like, do people want this product? I would say we have the reverse happening in the private aviation space. And as Robert pointed out, the biggest constraints to growing the business and delivering a business that can flourish is the supply chain. It's the parts availability, stuff that I never worried about for 20 years. All of a sudden you worry about them. And I think that the world is getting back in order today. I think that with oil, even though today I saw that OPEC is squeezing a bit again, I think as things are getting back in order as we come off the COVID crisis, that things are going to get a little bit easier on the operational side. But I'll throw you my favorite capacity utilization story of all time, which I know we have some great entrepreneurs out here. Has anyone ever eaten at McDonald's? I mean, obviously I have. Has anybody? Okay, so did everybody eat at McDonald's? Did anybody not eat at McDonald's? Okay. You know, they had for 40 or 50 years the most incredible model where it opened at 11 o'clock in the morning and they closed at 11 at night. The McDonald brothers and Ray Kroc came with the shake machine and ended up taking over the company. Somebody in the 70s came up with this idea that they could do business between 6 in the morning and 11. Breakfast. That's basically the machines were there, the fryers were there, the labor could be gotten. Today, 26% of McDonald's revenue is before 11 o'clock. And by the way, profitability is about a third. So when I think about capacity utilization, what Kalanick and Camp and what we're looking to do is how do we find more ways to activate, you know, the assets that are out there in the world?
And this is the last question because we've been told to wrap. But when it goes to that future, your company is actually called WheelsUp Experience. Yes. What is that next leg, and how does experience become part of your growth and future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure of it, and this is not a fad; it's a trend. We are living right now in the experience economy. Look at this unbelievable event that's happening. This isn't just a regular run-of-the-mill. We're in the convention center. This is a happening. And I think the generation before us out there, was about, you know, what are you wearing, what are you driving, what kind of bag are you carrying, all of that stuff, which would be, to me, the goods and services, or really the luxury economy. I think the new luxury is not what you have, but what you do. And I think that we named WheelsUp Experience for that, in the sense that, you know, what's the next trade that we can do with someone? Can we help them get a villa? Can we help them locate a boat, which is a more fragmented business than our business? You know, can we set them up for an amazing event, a Super Bowl experience, a Masters experience? Can we put something together where it's WheelsUp worthy, WheelsUp level experience? So that's why we named it WheelsUp Experience. Like Nike, who started with running, like Amazon that started with books. One day they're going to say 10 years from now at this conference, you know, Kenny, WheelsUp, they started with airplanes.
All right. Well, thank you for this experience. We appreciate it. Thank you all for coming.
I would say everybody out here, you're absolutely in the TAM. You're in our TAM, and you're one deal away. If you're not flying privately already, you're one successful deal away from going to Teterboro. Thank you.
Thank you.